योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
Friends, सबको नमस्कार. It's my privilege and pleasure to connect you all on the relevant topic and the session on tools and techniques of avoiding plagiarism in writing of a research paper or research article. Before moving ahead, I want to convey my gratitude and thanks to the UGC HRDC of Gujarat University for giving me this opportunity to connect with you and deliver my session on the plagiarism, to avoid the plagiarism. I also thanks to Professor Jagdish Joshi, Professor and Director of UGC HRDC Gujarat University. Sir is leading a very good team, very dynamic team, where it has conducted number of programs successfully. Some of the very important programs which I should mention were in 2018-2019, where 2,500 candidates or the participants have completed their refresher course. It was the first of its own kind in 2018. This was online. And in 2019-2020, an ARPIT on the English language where 9,000 participants participated. This institution, this UGC Human Resource Development Center of Gujarat University, is an established and a dynamic center. Very innovative ideas has been taken by Professor Dr. Jagdish Joshi. At the same time, this institute is having number of MOUs with the foreign universities. So we are happy and glad and privileged to be the part of this academic endeavor with such a dynamic institute, such a wonderful team. So without taking much more time, I'm starting my topic of for this course. My session will be on tools and techniques of avoiding plagiarism in writing of research articles. So, friends, myself, Dr. Premchand, Assistant Professor, National Law University, Delhi. So, friends, why we go for the research? Why and how we can go for the research? What the things should be taken care? What are the points which can be considered as plagiarized one in the article? Sometimes we are not aware about, but it happens. So, for all those purposes, we have to know what plagiarism means, what it is, how it happens, what are the consequences, and how to avoid it. The most important, how to avoid it, because we are creating research. We are going through the hard work, but end of the day, when we found this has been plagiarized content, it is very embarrassing, not to the researcher but to the others as well. So in such a way we will try to emphasize on what plagiarism is and how to avoid it. So the main objectives of this session is are as to impart knowledge about plagiarism, to make aware about the plagiarism in research, and where the reasons and kinds of what are the reasons and kinds of plagiarism. What are the cases of plagiarism? Important leading cases I will take care and I'll going to discuss with you some of the very famous examples you might be aware about. Uh, to impart the knowledge of plagiarism checkers, which are free or subscription based. subscription based, we will take care. UGC promotion of academic integrity and prevention of plagiarism in higher educational institutes, Regulation 2018, to impart knowledge about the Copyright Act 1957. In brief, Section 52 will go, but most importantly, we will take certain decisions of different courts, including India and abroad. And finally, to equip with the tools to avoid plagiarism. How to avoid the plagiarism, what needs to be taken care. So, friends, thou shalt not steal, but paraphrasing is okay. So, the point here is you cannot go for the theft. You should go for the idea, should go for the concept and paraphrase it, and put the idea into in your own words. So instead of copy pasting, just you get the idea, you get the concept, you use the words of your own and can use it with a proper acknowledgement. And when we think about the research is simple word which we are all aware about what research is. Why we do for a new knowledge, for new creation, and it is distinct from the routine application of non results. So for that purpose, the research, the word research in research is a misnomer. When you perform research, your goal is to add to human knowledge, and which is very much relevant for this purpose. What you are doing, you are discovering, inventing, creating what was previously unknown to the human being or human knowledge. So now, in case the objectives of the research, why do we research? And already, as we came to know, that for the purpose of discovering, inventing, creating what was previously unknown to the human being, unknown to the human knowledge, so we are going to create. So why do we research? It is to contribute or to extend the knowledge of human beings, of the society in that particular area. And the important point here is, how do we do this? This can be done by building on the works of the other. Where the first person has left the work, now we will start from there, and the future research what possible things can be done in that area. So there are certain things which must be taken care before starting a research work. So what a researcher need to do, he should read very carefully the guidelines for writing of thesis, dissertation, research paper, and so on. And many of the times, friends, we found that without going through the rules and regulations of the universities, or in relation to thesis or dissertation, or where you are writing a paper particularly, we avoid, or not avoid generally, but we as a layman or as a researcher, okay, we will see the what the rules and guidelines, we will start the work first. So I suggest you to read the guidelines carefully, so you can prepare yourself for the research article which you are going to prepare, which you are going to produce. Second, guidelines for research and reporting. How to report the results, what should be the purpose, what which sources or which parameter you have to take in, SPSS or any other source of analyzing the data available. Now, the third one is attend research methodology workshop, English remedial coaching classes, training in reference management tool, library orientation program, etc., author workshop, and at the same point of time, course on technical writing skills, etc. We, the people of India, are not well versed in many things. We we can have the best of the concept, but we don't know how to write. So, how to write it, I'm not generalizing. So, many of us may not be aware about how to start a research article. So, for that purpose, we try to attend certain. These are the sharpening the learning of a person, or sharpening the tools you have for a research. So we should go for those which can sharp us, which can give more and more information about how to do or conduct a research, how to read, understand, analysis, and take notes from an article. Sometimes we copy paste the whole article, sometimes we paste the copy paste of one paragraph. No, it is not the idea. The idea is we read the whole article, we read the one chapter, we read certain paragraphs, and take from there the concept, the idea, and then try to write it into your own words. Fifth one, to get account to check plagiarism. It's very much relevant, and we will focus on plagiarized part or plagiarism as a concept as a whole. Use of reference management tools, research forums, online discussion groups, etc. And most importantly, how to do a research. We have to have an overall and holistic approach before starting a research work or before starting a research article. Now, I'll suggest you certain points. You have to prepare your research notes. what what will be the format of these research notes? So if you go by one by one, a balance between the ideas you have taken from the other sources and your own original ideas. So a gap should be maintained by you. Second, to take note of referred sources, marking page number, record bibliographic information or addresses of every resource. But if you forgot at this point of time when you are reading, you are mentioning, and, so, and thinking that you will refer it at the later stage, you may forgot it. So it's better to have a note of all those resources which you have taken, note taking of all those readings. Fourth one, first note source bibliography information. So you should not forget, or you should not ignore while finalizing your paper. So in case, paraphrase or summarize as you go. Gradually, just put the information, then gradually summarize as you finalize the paper. There are P, S, and Q, relevant part. You can put P, S, and Q. So put P as or an S next to paraphrase or summarize. You cover, copied a full paragraph. So what you have to write? This is need to paragraph, paraphrased. This needs to be summarized. So you will be aware about which portion is required what. Your attention. Next is use Q to mark the beginning and end of the passage copied directly from the text. Copy it. And it means you have to have more work on this area. Number 8, use different colored ink for copied ideas. Very interesting one. Ninth one, whether you paraphrase or copy direct quotation, always keep the citation page information with the text so that you decide to rearrange your notes. You have a record of what comes from where. It is not easy to maintain the record, so we have to very conscious about maintaining the record of all those sources. Remember to write down next 10th one, Write down not just the useful information you discovered, but where you have found it too. And the lastly, it is very difficult to backtrack later if you can't remember which books or website you have referred or you have gathered the information. So it's very relevant and pertinent to take care of all these points. So, for writing a paper, certain tips are very necessary to avoid the plagiarism. That is the part of while preparing or starting a research. To avoid the plagiarism, we need to be very conscious. You read your notes with the notes you have prepared earlier, prepared when you were reading the books or the articles or on the online resources. Read your notes carefully and make sure that you understand the material before you begin to write. Second, so it needs to give some time, but don't worry, you can do it. Write a preliminary draft without looking at your notes, and leave spaces where you think you will want to include quotes or supporting material. Preliminary draft with why it is required. It will give you, or the ideas, the concept, the words will be of your own. So when you start the article with your own ideas, with your own words, there are hardly any chance to be the plagiarized item or plagiarized material in your starting paragraph. Third one, use your own words as much as possible, because vocabulary of every individual researcher is different from each other. Learning of mine may be different from yours. So try to use your own words. Try to understand what you have written or what you are going to write. Use those words which are easily understandable by you and the others as well, the readers as well. So no one expect you to write like an expert or professional writer, but you have to be very simple, very clear what you are going to write. You should, however, write like a serious intelligence student or a researcher. So automatically things will be done. Automatically things will be okay. Fourth one, cite all sources as you write your rough draft. Fifth one, very interesting one. Read through your final draft and make sure all uncited ideas are your own. And where the uncited ideas which are not of your own, I suggest you, I emphasize that you should go for the acknowledgement of those resources. Go for the footnotes or endnotes. Now, this is the topic which we are going to emphasize today: plagiarism in research. Plagiarism is specifically defined as a format or the form of research misconduct. Very interesting. Research misconduct includes fabrication, falsification, or plagiarism. FFP. In what sense? It is in proposing, performing, reviewing research, or reporting research results. So, according to these three elements, or three elements of the misconduct are fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. Falsification is making up data or result. Examples are followed. I'm coming on that. Second is falsification. Falsification of what? Manipulating research material, equipments, processes, changing or omitting data or result such that the result is not accurately represented in your research report, but you have taken it. You have falsified all the data which you have used. Third one is plagiarism. It's the appropriation of another person's ideas, processes, results, or word without giving appropriate credit. That is, appropriate credit means you are not acknowledging the resource. You are not referring, giving the reference of the original resource from you have taken this content, concept, or idea. Now, in case of fabrication, there are certain examples of fabrication. Fabrication in social sciences, what kind of है? Researcher or interviewer completing a questionnaire from a fictitious subject that was never interviewed. In biological sciences, the creation of data set for an experiment that was never actually conducted. Now, in case practice for adding fictitious data or to a real data set collected during an actual experiment for the purpose of providing additional statistic validity. There are 500 participants we have identified. Out of 500, 200 actual data, 300 false data. We have managed it. We have created it. So, in clinical research, insertion of a clinical note into the research record to indicate compliance with an element of the protocol, to complete the protocol, to complete the requirement of the clinical trial, clinical note. So those fabricated items can be considered for this purpose. This is of first of kind research misconduct. Second is falsification. Falsification, as we are aware about, it is manipulating research material, equipment, processes, or changing or omitting, suppressing data or result without scientific or statistical justification. So, such that the research is not accurately represented in the research record, and this is misrepresentation of uncertainty during statistical analysis of the data. So there are certain examples of the falsification of a research material, or the process, or the changing or omitting, suppressing data results. What? Alteration of data to render a modification of variances in the data, falsification of dates in the experiment procedure in the study notebook, falsification in relation to misrepresenting the results from the statistical analysis. And there are more in relation to the falsification, misrepresenting the method of an experiment, such as the model used to conduct the experiment. And in addition, the addition of false or misleading statement in the manuscript or published paper. Falsification of research accomplishments by publishing the same research results in multiple papers. सेल्फ प्लेजरिज्म. अब क्या किया, टॉपिक बदल दिया और वही यूं का यूं आर्टिकल उसमें चिपका कर नेक्स्ट जर्नल को भेज दिया. दिस इज सेल्फ प्लेजरिज्म. आई एम कमिंग ऑन दैट. So now, misrepresentation of material or methods of research study in published paper. Providing false statement about the extent of research study, and at the meantime, falsification of telephone call attempt to collect data for a survey study. Now, what plagiarism is? Plagiarism, as we are aware about, and we have just taken an overview, but the UGC regulation of 2018, it defined in rule 2.1 sorry, plagiarism means the practice of taking someone else's work or idea and passing them as one's own. And the word plagiare is the word which comes from the Latin term. Plagiarize is the word which comes from the Latin term plagiare, which means the kidnap, to kidnap, to kidnap the work of another and give it your own name as you are the original, you know, creator of that content. So, according to Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary, plagiarize means to steal and pass off the word of another as one's own, to use another production without crediting the source, to commit literary theft, to present as a new and original idea of product derived from the existing source. So, my dear friends, plagiarism is the act of stealing this very technical term, and stealing is what someone else work and attempting to pass it off as your own. So you are giving the name, your own name for the work of another guy, another researcher. So, in case this can apply to anything from a term paper, photographs to songs, even ideas. It can be used for the purpose of submitting a paper, dissertation, thesis. It can be considered for the purpose copy answers. Like these days we are taking exams in online mode, and students are copy pasting. One or two or 10 students prepare uh, the answer sheet, and rest of them copy pasting, or the same with slide changes. Quote or paraphrase from another person, another paper without crediting the original author. Fourth one, cite data without crediting the original source. Propose another author's idea as if it were your own. That is a plagiarism. Fabricating, referencing, or using incorrect references also considered a part of the plagiarism. Submitting someone's presentation, program, spreadsheet, or any other file which only minor alterations is also a place. So buying or selling, very bad trend into the market, where researchers, students, teachers, scholars, they purchase what? Paper, assignment, thesis, dissertation, articles, any number. So this is also known as plagiarism. So there are certain kinds of unoriginalities. So these types of unoriginalities are inadvertent plagiarism, forgetting to properly cite or quote source of unintentional paraphrasing. While the initial of this lecture or this discussion, I asked you to take the note of, to make the brief of all the resources from where you are reading. So a citation, proper citation you have to mention. Student collusion, where three or four students in one group, and one is working and rest of are taking the fruits of that one guy who has worked hard. Paraphrase plagiarism, paraphrasing source idea without proper attribution, without proper referencing. Control C, word for word plagiarism, copying, pasting, enough, final. So try to avoid without proper attribution. Simply copy pasting shall not be considered as a research article or research work. Computer code plagiarism, copying and adapting source code without permission from and attribution to the original creator. Self plagiarism, it's obvious one, it happens, but we have to identify. Reusing owns previous published or submitted work without proper attribution. यदि आपने अपना ही काम साइट किया है या फिर उसको यूज किया है, you have to cite that it has been done by you in that paper, in that research article, you have submitted there, it has been published in such and such magazine or journal or book in such and such year. Self plagiarism. Source based plagiarism, providing inaccurate or incompetent complete information about sources such that they cannot be found. Mosaic, mosaic plagiarism, weaving phrases, next text from the several sources into one's own work, adjusting sentences without quoting or quotation marks attribution. Manual text modification. It is simply a manipulating the text without intention or misleading plagiarism detecting software. Like current इनको avoid करने के लिए you can add certain modification. Data plagiarism, falsifying or fabricating data or improperly appropriating someone else's work. Secondary data, we can say secondary data, but it is not the same. Secondary data is different from the data-based research, where data originally you have created, you have collected, and some of the data you have plagiarized or you have created falsely or fabricated. Now, software-based text modification, taking content written by another and running it through a software tool, text, spinner, translating, and so many things are there. Contract cheating, very very interesting one. Engaging a third party, 1 लाख रुपए ले लो, 2 लाख रुपए ले लो, मेरी thesis लिख दो, to complete an assignment representing that one's own work. 5-5 हजार में आर्टिकल्स लिखवाए जा रहे, 1.5 लाख रुपए में थीसिस लिखवाई जा रही, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट टीचिंग. So these are certain kinds of these are the unoriginality. Here the 10 most common types of plagiarism. I'll take you on the another website, another page. Just first we'll go by these 10, and these 10s will be explained by the that website, and with the uh, you can identify what kind of plagiarism it was. Clone, Control C, find, replace, remix, recycle, hybrid, mashup, 404 error, aggregator, retweet. And here the point is the now I am clicking on the uh, yes, this is the Turnitin here, where these 10 kinds or 10 formats are there, and these 10 formats are one by one. If you see, clone, submitting another's work for word as one's own. So this is the words as own, and here it's the report alternative. Second, Control C, word to word, and with certain modifications, single source without alteration. Simple, when some of the words has been changed. The beautiful Yosemite Valley, natural setting, history, explore settlement in also this topic has been changed and some of the words has been changed. Now, see, next is find and replace, changing keywords, phrases, but retaining the essential content of the source. It shows the beautiful settings, setting in Yosemite, the topic you have changed, but the resources or the source which has been mentioned, it's the same and the content is the same. So it will show like this. Remix, paraphrases from multiple sources made to fit together. So paraphrases from the sources and 1, 2, 3, blue, sorry, this is violet, red, green. It shows that resources has been taken and this is just fit together line to line with another. Recycle, borrows generously from the writer's previous work without citation, self citation, self plagiarism. So next is in relation to the hybrid form of combines perfectly cited sources with copied passages without citation. एक पैसेज यहाँ से उठा लिया, एक यहाँ से उठा लिया, सेम एज इट इज को आगे पीछे थोड़ा सा कर दिया, और hybrid combines perfectly cited sources with copied passages without any citation or any reference. Next is mashup in simply you can think about mix copies material from number of sources. Say a first line from A, B, C, D, and fix one by one. Okay, it becomes a mashup mixing the materials from different sources. 404 एरर, हम लिंक दे देते हैं लेकिन लिंक कभी खुलता नहीं. So this is includes the citation to non-existence or inaccurate information about the sources. 404 error. And aggregator, ninth one, includes the proper citation to source, but the paper contain almost no original work. प्रॉपर साइटेशन, हर एक लाइन की साइटेशन दी हुई है, रेफरेंस दिया हुआ है, ऐसा भरमार है रेफरेंस की कि 100 लाइन है, 150 आपके पास रेफरेंसेस, but not even a single line you will get which has been written by the scholar, by the researcher on its own. So this is aggregator. You have just copied and pasted and fixed the content in lines. Now, the last one is retweet. Retweet includes proper citation but relies too closely on the text of original wording and other structure. This is not like the copy paste, but it is different from some of the paraphrase has been made, some of the new words has been added by the researcher, but it is just near to the original work, original structure of the previous work. No, it is a self-plagiarism. And self-plagiarism is a very interesting one. Unintentionally, inadvertently, we did this, and we think that this work was done by myself. This is mine work. So, is it required to give the reference to my own work? But you friends, remember, always remember, and be very clear about this point. If you are citing your own work which has been published earlier, you have to acknowledge it. If you are using any of the content from it, then you have to acknowledge it to yourself. You have to acknowledge to yourself your own work in the next work, next research. So, copying material you have previously produced and passing it off as the new production is selflessness. So, writers often maintain that because they are the authors, they can reuse their own work as they please. It's not your pleasure. It couldn't be defined as plagiarism, but they are not taking any words or ideas from someone else, but it is self-plagiarism, which is very much possible, which possible to continue. So the ethics of the self-plagiarism is significant, especially because of self-plagiarism can be infringed upon the publisher's copyright, because you have submitted the paper to the publisher, and publisher copyright, in many of the cases copyright is of the publisher. You are what by self plagiarizing, you are infringing the right of copyright of the publisher. Now, friends, this was 20th April 2020. In relation to the self plagiarism, a public notice was given, and a public notice, it simply says that while you are using self plagiarism content and so on, and if you can read with me, this is here reusing data already used in published work, communicated for publication in author another work without due and full citation, breaking up the longer larger state into smaller portion sections and publication along altogether new work without due and full citation. So self self citation do not add any number. You remember, self citations do not any number to the individual citation index or H index in the global academia. And in the same way, reproduction of any part or whole of your own works which has been previously done by you, it will not be accepted. It will not be accepted for the purpose of your calculation of cash or for the purpose of any promotion and so on. So we try to avoid it in case of selflessness, unintentional or accidental places, using minimal or careless paraphrase. How it happens? Failing to document or cite properly, quoting excessively, and failing to use your own voice to present information or ideas. How it possible? May not know how to integrate the ideas of other and the document properly. It may or not know how to take notes properly or done sloppily, unfamiliar with the international style of documentation. This is unintentional. You are not intentionally doing plagiarized work, research work, but unintentionally, inadvertently, accidentally it happens. So taking the ideas of other writers and mixing them together without reference, without citing them. So there are certain other kinds of plagiarisms are borrowed plagiarism, mosaic plagiarism, aggregated plagiarism, outline plagiarism, direct plagiarism. So these are certain kinds of plagiarisms. Further, the hired plagiarism, as we know, is simply collaboration plagiarism, contributing author plagiarism. So secondary source plagiarism, already we have taken care all these parts, but the names are different, but the contents are near about the same of all these. Bibliographic plagiarism and secondary source plagiarism. Now, in cases where the plagiarism, maximum cases found from term papers, assignments, project reports, thesis. This is the student part, right? Student part. Now, come to our side, the faculty side, research reports, academic report or academic research writings, books, articles, papers, chapters in the books. So in those cases, we have to be very conscious. The plagiarism is not an easy task, or not simply you can say, said okay, I have copied. There is nothing which can bar you. But there are rules and regulations which needs to be followed, which are very pertinent in relation to the results, or the penal provisions are there. But before moving on those provisions, we have to see what are the main reasons for the plagiarism. Why we use the plagiarized word or the plagiarized item or the research article. Careless attitude. Who bothers? Who will take care? No one is going to read. No one is going to identify what I have done. So, careless attitude. Cut and paste culture. We have learned it, from the very beginning when the computer classes joined. cut, paste, copy, paste, cut, paste, copy, paste culture we have developed. Disorganization, poor time management. हमारी कोशिश ये रहती है कि टाइम को जितना खींचा जा सके उतना खींच लें, और उसके बाद जो भी सामने आएगा काट के पेज भर कर, पेज नंबर लिख कर, they will submit it. It's the disorganization or poor time management of the students and faculty. English as the international language. It is not a barrier, but true, as we come from different backgrounds. So, English is a barrier at one instance, but it is not that much which cannot be overcome. Lack of referencing skill. All the institutions are not that of expertise which learn or which impart the knowledge to the students of referencing skills and so on. Lack of strict academic discipline. Very sad state of affair in India. Lack of understanding of seriousness of places. क्या होता है देख लेंगे, कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. Copy pasted, item done, paper published, no one is going to read. कहाँ किस कोने में पड़ी होगी वो हमारा आर्टिकल पता भी नहीं. But it is not like that. At any point of time, if you caught, then the consequences may be the serious one. And sometimes it has taken the life of the person, the culprit, the theft, who has stolen the ideas and concept of the person, the original author. So it's not easy task. It is not don't take it lightly. It's very serious. Poor study habits, study pressure. India, study pressure on the students and on the faculty, class pressures, meeting pressures, and so and number of committee members you are, and end of the day, but you have to complete the task of career advancement scheme, or you're thinking to go for the higher institute. If you're in college, in universities, then you need certain papers, research paper in your credit. The students, particularly, how they use some of the methods, how they plagiarize, or how they avoid the plagiarism. It should not be caught by the software as well as by the teacher. And my dear friends, you are aware about students are of very creative, very smart. But when you personally met your student, or you personally know your student, how far he can go, how smart he is, how creativity he can do in his work, so you can identify that guy is not smart enough, that guy is not able to go for that extent, that creativity, the smartness which he has shown in his research work. Second one is digital text modification. English alphabets and Cyrillic alphabets are the same. A, C, O, E, and O. So these are the same in English letters as well as in Cyrillic letters, Russian letters. So Cyrillic letters and English letters are the same in typing, in writing. Just what you can do, Control F and A will replace with Cyrillic letter A. So you are not able to get it done, or you are not able to get or trace whether it has been paraphrased, whether it has been used A or Cyrillic letter. So I'll tell you with an example, like example of Tarantine. I'll give to you. Third one, making up references, non-existing or unrelated. Any number of cases. Mr. X versus Y, uh, Miss X, Mr. Y, Handle versus pedal. No, कुछ भी. So in those cases, which are not cases are not available, or students generally what they did in the leading case which Supreme Court has decided. Which leading case? You are not aware. Which leading case? Which bench? Which year? No, no one knows. But in a leading case, it has been observed, it has been held, it has been seen, it has been, you know, given the directions to the state or the authority. So, making up those references which are non-existing, unrelated, MAE, kuch bhi. So you have to be very focused on and try to identify it, which case number he has referred, whether that case is related to the concept or the topic or not, whether the book which has been cited by him in the legal project is of medicine, is of algebra, is of history, which book it has been referred, which article it has been referred. Because for the purpose of footnoting, for the purpose of acknowledgement, this is not relevant only to show that there are number of footnotes available or has been used. We should be very careful. Insert white text. This is very interesting one. White text into the document. So say for A it has been used, and thereafter A has been, the font has been changed or the color has been changed. Font is, say for the whole the document is in 12 format or 12 font. It placed in 9 format or 10 format or 10 font, and with the font color clear white font, it will not be identifiable from your perspective. But you can think, you can see that there is a red line which shows that there are mistakes, grammatical mistakes are there into the paper. You can trace, you can identify. And I suggest you to ask the student submit the Word document, not the PDF document. So always ask the student to submit your MS Word document. So where you can edit it, where you can identify it, where you can think about there are certain suspicious things which looks into the research project, research paper, thesis or dissertation. Format modification, image. So format modification and text modification, these are very relevant for this purpose, and you can be with me here in the case where the document, if you see the Turnitin here, uh, I can go by two documents. One is, this is of 9% and this is of 8%. I'll show you the graph theory JPG. And this graph theory JPG, if I open it, what I have done for your example to show you how the students can misuse the software or to avoid the software work of the software of alternative. So this document which you are able to see is one page. If you see here, there is no line as such which shows that this paper has been contained or has been identified. Here there is no line as such which shows you that this document has been read by the Turnitin software. Now, this is the page, this is the picture you see here. This picture is able to access you. And now if you see this line, CC by Y SA 2.5, right? I'm just enlarging it. Okay. This is not working. Now, I'm going to the another piece. This is first piece. This is second. This is the original content. Now, if you are with me and you are able to see CC BY SA 2.5 and so on, Creative Commons, Wikimedia Commons. Here is 8%, in other document is 9%, and on the top, this is the original content, this is the MS Word document, and the above given is the picture. I have converted the document into the picture JPG format and pasted it into the Word document. So you can identify at the whole the page is having no identity or no similarity. At least 1, 2, 3, 4 lines or words shall be similar. If it is not found, then you can easily access and get that there is something wrong. There is something which needs to be taken care. And here, in case of accordingly, you can think about the the text modification, format modification, and so on. So there are a number of plagiarism checkers which are free of cost, and some of them are available on subscription based. So, friends, these are the sources which are available to you free of cost, and you can access from the website directly from the Google. One is dupli checker, copy checker, paper rater, plagiarism, plagiarism checker, plagian, plag scan, plag tracker, or code. These are available free of cost. Second, there are number of plagiarism checkers which are available on payment basis, subscription basis. Students also can get the subscription of these softwares. So these plagiarism checkers. So it may be a subscription rate may be differ from, because student aspect or the institution aspect or the professional aspect. You just check it out, irrelevant of the cost. You have to check it out and with your own. So Turnitin, Scriber, Text, Completo Stadium, BibMe or BibMe, Authenticate, Unicheck. It has been used uh, by me, Turnitin. This is the institutional subscription which I am using, as this has been subscribed by National Law University Delhi. So we submitted all the papers. Students submitted all the papers in Turnitin. I check it through the Turnitin from that perspective. I also check my own papers while before submitting any journal or the book or any seminar or conference on Turnitin. So there are kinds of similarities. Blue similar, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. It depends on the percentage of similarity. 0% blue image 1 to 24, green image 20 20 49, yellow image 50 to 74, orange image 75 to 100, red image. Now, my emphasis is as a law student and law teacher, because many of the sources, not many, maximum maximum sources are available on online. Some of the contents may be from the Ministry of Law and Justice. Statutes are online, ordinances are online, not only of the central ministry but also state government law and justice ministries. So all legal documents are available online. So I request to my fellow guys, to my friends, before final taking the decision on any of the similarity index of student paper, project, or report, just you go through the document and try to find it out, which what kind of document, what kind of content was under similarity index. So all the content may not be considered as plagiarized. I can't, rename the case of Keswananda Bharati. I am not able to rename the Constitution of India, or the same in n number of cases in relation to the law particular. So friends, now I'm coming on the aspect of 2018 UGC promotion of academic integrity and prevention of plagiarism in higher educational institutions regulation 2018. So, friends, it is pertinent to mention here Rule 2O script doesn't only means relation to the student but also related to the faculty and research scholar as well. So, research paper, thesis, dissertation, chapter, book, full-fledged books, and any other similar work submitted for the assessment opinion leading to the award of master research degree or research level degree publication in print or electronic media by student or faculty or researcher or staff of higher educational institution. So, however, it exclude assignments, term paper, project paper, coursework, essay, and answer script. Sometimes we are very tough. We shown to the students we are tough. Their project writing, say for I am teaching law of property, say for I am teaching law of contract. There are n number of projects have been submitted on the contract. Any other topic, say for consideration, say for lease from the property law, say for attestation from the this property law, or any other paper what you can think about, or whatever you are teaching. So for the purpose, it shall exclude assignments, term paper, project reports, coursework, essays, answer scripts, etc., excluding from the 2018 regulations. Staff, it involves every staff, regular, temporary, contractual, outsource. So all non-teaching staff in higher education. Faculty, all the faculties. Student, all kinds of students, PG or UC. What is the duty of the higher educational institution? So every higher educational institution under Rule 4 of 2018 regulations to establish what the mechanism as prescribed in these regulations and to enhance awareness about the responsible conduct of research and academic activities to promote academic integrity and prevent plagiarism in the higher educational institutions. Awareness programs and training needs to be necessarily to be conducted by the higher educational institutions for the faculty members, for the students, for the researchers, for the staff members, and so on. And it also higher educational institution shall also include the cardinal principle of academic integrity in the curricula of undergraduate and postgraduate degrees. It also includes the element of responsible conduct of research and publication ethics compulsory course module, masters and research scholar. It also includes the element of responsible conduct, research, publication, orientation, and refresher courses organized by for faculty and staff member of the higher educational institution. The higher educational institution shall also train students, faculty, researchers, staff for using plagiarism detection tools and reference management tools. There shall be a training every semester. It should be refreshed. This higher educational institutions, HEI, establish faculty equipped with modern technologies for detection of plagiarism. They should encourage the student, faculty, researcher, and staff to register on intentional research registry system and Rule 6 also provides that higher educational institution is under responsibility to curb the plagiarism, to curb the menace of plagiarism in their institutions, in relation to the faculty, in relation to the student, in relation to the staff members, in relation to the other persons who are working with the institution. So, for all, it is the duty of the higher educational institution to curb the menace of plagiarism. So, relevant bodies need to be established. And higher educational institutes, I believe you are aware about Inflibinet, Shodh Ganga. All the degrees, all the PhD thesis and dissertation need to be submitted. It shall be submitted by the higher educational institutions into the that repository. Right, the Shodh Ganga e-repositories. So, higher educational institutions will also create institutional repository on institute website, which shall include dissertation, thesis, paper, publication, other in-house publications as well. Now, Rule 7 of 2018 regulation, it says similarity checks for exclusion from plagiarism. It says there are certain rules, and I also emphasize that you should also take care while thinking about the plagiarism or what can be excluded from the plagiarism. It says all quoted work reproduced with necessary permissions and attribution. All references, bibliography, table of content, preface, acknowledgement, it should be excluded. All generic terms, Constitution of India, law of property, law of contract, copyright, right, or and number of cases which are the similar, which are the same one, which cannot be changed, name of the statutes, name of the regulations, name of the authorities, name of the courts, right? So all those like generic terms, laws, standard symbols, and standard equations. Sorry. Now, it's pertinent to mention here that while excluding the words, we can go for the 14 words consecutive, exclude the 14 words consecutively, and that research work carried by the student, faculty, research staff shall be based on an original idea, which shall include abstract, summary, hypothesis, observation, result, conclusion, and recommendations only, and shall not have any similarities. So, 14 consecutive words we can exclude from the uh, uh, in the setting for the purpose of checking the places. So there are four levels of plagiarism under 2018 regulations, and it's necessary to mention here from 1 to 4. In part 1 there is no penalty, in part 2 there is small penalty, in part 3 the gray penalty, and the final one is the third one, where similarity index is more than 60%. So with 0 to 10, there is no penalty as such, and 10 to 40, 40 to 60, and 60 to 60 and onward. I'll come on this higher educational institution. They have to detect, report, and handling of plagiarism. So in the universities, in the colleges, the HOD will create a departmental academic integrity panel, DAIP. At university level, that institutional academic integrity panel, IF, shall be established. And wherever it founds that the plagiarized item was submitted or has been submitted by the student and faculty, then higher educational institutions shall take suo motu notice of it and act accordingly and initiate the proceeding under these regulations. So, a fair hearing, natural justice, principle of natural justice shall be applied. So, DAP is there, departmental integrity, academic integrity panel. The combination is of it, chairperson, member, the head of the department will be chairperson, member, the senior academician of the department, member shall well versed with the anti-plagiarism tool, not necessarily be the faculty member. Right. So the term as there, you can go by your own. Institutional academic integrity. So at university level, that chairman shall be the pro vice chancellor, dean, senior academician of the higher educational institution. Member, senior academician other than the chairman to be nominated by the head of the HEI. Member, one member nominated by the head of HEI for outside, from the outside of HEI. Member, a person who is well versed with the anti-plagiarism tool to be this person generally from the library department or IT department, right? So in such a case, the tenure will be of 3 years for IF. And what are the consequences for the places? So, as I said and told you and discussed with you, plagiarism is not a simple term. Plagiarism is very serious ethical issue, and it is not the simply ethical issue, but it is more than that. It can take the life of the individual, and it has taken. There are many examples. And what happens if plagiarism detected in your paper in any of the report or reject no, report or project or article or the book or the chapter? There are penalties, very strict penalties after adopting the procedure, after adopting the fair trial procedure, after adopting the natural justice principle. So all the faculty members and students shall be vigilant, aware what can happens with them in relation to the if plagiarism found in their document, in their report or research or article. Rule 12.1. I will go by one. Rule, there are four various levels of plagiarized items. So 0 to 10%, minor similarities, no penalty. Second, level 1, similarities from 1 to 40%. Students shall be asked to submit revised script with the stipulated time for not exceeding for 6 months about the students. Plagiarism done by the students. Third one, level 2, 40 to 60%. Students shall be debarred from the submitting a revised script for a period of 1 year. Ghar baitho. Third one, fourth one. Similarity above 60%, such student re-registration for that program shall be cancelled. Right? Now, what about the faculties, academics, staff in the higher educational institutions? So 12.2, Rule 12.2 of 2018 regulation, level 1 or level 0, similarities up to 10%, no penalty as the same. Level 2 or number 2, level 1, 40 to 10 up to 10 to 40% shall be asked to withdraw the manuscript. This is level 2. Third one, 40 to 60%. Withdraw the manuscript. Interestingly, shall be denied a right to one annual increment after going through the fair procedure of you know uh, inquiry, conduct inquiry, and giving the chance to give or to place his uh, part. Third one, shall not be allowed to be a supervisor to any new master, MPhil, PhD student, scholar for a period of 2 years. Last, fourth one, if it is more than 60% and you have submitted it, withdraw the manuscript, obvious, denied a right to two successive annual increments, shall not be allowed to be supervisor to any new master's, MPhil, PhD student scholar for a period of 3 years. Now, interestingly, I have to uh, be very fast on this point because time is taking too much. Penalty for repeated plagiarism, penalty in case where benefit credit has been already obtained, it can be withdrawal, it can be asked for abeyance of period of five, head of the institution can decide about these. So in those cases, section 52 is interestingly uh, is dealing with Section 52 is dealing with the laws and regulations punishment for plagiarism, but Section 52 is dealing with particularly that cases where fair dealing is permissible, and the persons may take uh, the content. There are 43 categories under the this part where uh, a researcher or the student or the scholar or the higher educational institutions, they can use uh, under the fair dealing categories under section 52 of the Copyright Act. Now the point here is, interestingly, we should aware about certain cases are there. Leading cases I'll take. Section 52 is a lengthy one. I'll share the content of section 52 and you can go through it. Certain leading cases on section 52, the fair dealing with the literary items. Campbell versus Acuf Rose Music of 1994. This is American Pretty Woman case. Very interesting case it was, where four-factor tests were determined whether a particular use of work is fair or not. What are these factors? One, the purpose and character of the use, educational purposes or critique, etc. Second, the nature of the copyrighted work, whether the work is eligible for copyright protection in the first place. Third one, the substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work. Fourth one, the effect on the potential market. Four, or value of the copyrighted work, whether the new work would adversely affect the market value of the original work. If yes, we have to be considered, we have to consider it as not a fair dealing with work. Academy of General Education Manipal versus B. Manini Malya. Supreme Court here has observed in 2009 that where a fair dealing is made inter alia of a literary or dramatic work for the purpose of private use, including not limited to research, criticism, or review, whether of that work or of any other work, such as dealing does not constitute an infringement of the copyright, then it will be under the preview of section 52 under fair dealing of the research or the copyrighted work. Only purpose of private use. Say for I am copying or getting a uh, getting a photocopy of the book for my private use, private reading. It will not be considered. If I'm taking one or two chapters from the book and circulating to my students, it will not be considered as the infringement of copy. And as I say, Chancellor, Masters and Scholars of Universities of Oxford, Rameshwari Photocopy Services. Now, this is the making course packs for suggested readings for the students by photocopying portions of various prescribed reference books does not violate the copyright of the publisher. And interestingly, those students who are aware about and those faculty members who are aware about the case of Delhi, the person in FMS, uh, you know, faculty of management studies, he used to do that. And Patel chest case, Delhi, Patel chest, where a person, where a photocopier machine wala, he used to photocopy it for the students, certain set of the articles, certain set of the chapters for and number of subjects. It was provided by the photocopier machine wala to the students. Now, some instances of plagiarism which you are aware about, but for the time being, you must know what this. Four teachers have been penalized for plagiarism. HRD ministry says. This is the latest case of 2020, 7th February. This is asked by KZ Alfonso, Member Parliament Rajya Sabha, said that three cases have been found evidence of plagiarism in inquiry committee. And now, India, you can plagiarize and flourish. And Himalaya Publishing House Private Limited, and very well known case, high profile case of Pondicherry University, according to the reports by Chancellor Chandra Krishnamurthy, appointed as position of UAPA government UGC guidelines, and was accused of claiming authorship of non-existent existence book of journal article plagiarized book, Himalaya publication, and so accordingly, Sivraj Chauhan trolled over plagiarism after he shared poem by wife. Some other's poem he read in the public domain, said this poem has been written by my wife. The plagiarism, this is not the you and me who are using the plagiarized items, but the politicians as well. So we should be very conscious about. And this document, Kavya Viswanathan, how Opal Mehta got kissed and got wild and got a life. So this document, this if you read this document, you came to know that this is uh, copied item, by the student of Kavya Viswanathan. And now, Management Development Institute suspended professors on for plagiarism. This is old news. But now, how to avoid plagiarism? This is very relevant point. We have to be very honest. मुश्किल है, but we can do. Integrate the source used in your research. All the sources or from your notebook, your citation you have taken. Choose only relevant part of the source. Choose only relevant part of the source. सारा हमें सब कुछ उसे फिक्स नहीं कर देना है. Summarize, paraphrase and quote. This is the important one. Even summarize, paraphrase is also important one to avoid plagiarism. But quote, unquote, it will save your time as well. And the most relevant part, if you are taking ideas, concept, paragraphs, quotation, you have to give proper reference and acknowledgement. Citation standard adopted by most of the countries. Now, India also and other countries as well. Like in Australia, there is Australian Guide to Legal Citation. It follows that. In Canada, Canadian legal citation usually follow the Canadian guide to uniform legal citation and McGill guide. It is Germany, German legal citation. Netherlands also having their Dutch legal citation follows Leerdart, Wood, Juridisch authors. And further, fifth one, UK. Oxford Standard of Citation, legal authorities in the modern authorities in citation of United Kingdom legislation. USA, there are four kinds of particularly being used. Blue Book Standard, like we also use in India. Albert Citation Manual, Tan Book, Maroon Book. These are the different University School of Chicago Law School of Maroon Book. They are using their own. But in India, we have, at different level, we use at different formats. Oscola, Blue Book are the famous one. Then Indian Law Institute format, it's there. Standard Indian Legal Citation. So Silk is known as SILC. Silk. There is a website as well of Silk. You can go and access it. So Oscola, Blue Book, Indian Law Institute citation format, Indian Standard, Standard Indian Legal Citation. And friends, I'm requesting you while you are preparing any of the article, and when the guidelines are mentioned, properly, clearly mentioned that you have to use Oscola format, you have to use Blue Book format, you have to use Indian Law Institute format, or anything. I found many of the times while reviewing, while preparing, or while going through the articles, the guidelines were about the Oscola, and there are 15 references in a research paper submitted for the conference or the book. Then what I found at one point, it has been mentioned in Oscola format, another footnote in Blue Book format, Indian Law Institute format. There is a mixture of all. So try to avoid this. Try to take a note which format the publisher or the editors mention into the guidelines. And my concluding remarks were to all of you, to my friends, to my colleagues, to my fraternity. One, check whether the quoted used work is copyrighted material or not. Blindly, we should not believe that the whatever the index is showing, similarity index is showing, is plagiarized. No, it is not. Second, before using extensive portions of copyrighted work obtained specifically or specific permissions of copyright holder license for using copyrighted sound recording in research work. Third one, avoid stealing the central idea of your paper from the core of another's work. Fourth one, we should avoid copy pasting beyond 10%. Avoid using 15 consecutive words, because regulation of 2018 it says 14 consecutive words. If found, it not be considered, it will not be considered. And while you are submitting your research paper for checking the similarity index or plagiarized items, you just ask the person who is taking care of the software, ask him or her that please go into the setting and extend the words up to 14 words from the excluding sources. Sixth one, cite, refer, mention the sources, attribution, that is, give credit where credit is due. Seventh, self plagiarism is legal, but bringing new ideas to the table will help you earn a seat at the table sooner than recycle old ideas. Lastly and finally, technology is not meant to serve as a tool to make lives of the students the harder, of the students harder. So educators identify the issues and address them. So it is making easy the life of the students and faculty members, but simultaneously we have to take personal pain to gain something, and not to penalize the students on the basis of what the similarity index is being shown by the Turnitin, Authenticate, or Urkun, or any other software which you are using. So I personally request you to go by the document, go through the document, try to identify which portion is plagiarized, which paragraph is not plagiarized, which paragraph is needs to be worked by the scholar. So I acknowledge to all the authors, various books, internet sources, uh, which I have used to prepare this presentation. I have provided the source link. However, any omission is duly regretted from my part. I request you all. The presentation is mainly prepared to create an awareness amongst the student and researchers about the plague of plagiarism and research, and nothing else. So these are certain references I have referred. There are a number of references others as well. I'll provide you in a different document. And with this, I invite your questions. You can mail me on my email ID. You can ask the coordinator of your course, Professor Bhaves, he will send me your questions, and I will be happy to share my views, share my learnings, and I will also learn with you on those points. So, with this word, I thank you all. Thanks to the UGC Human Resource Development Center, Gujarat University, and thanks to Professor Jagdish Joshi giving this opportunity to interact with you all. So, with these words, I stop my lecture here. So, you can, if you have any query, any concerns of your own, so I will be happy to share all those. You can mail me, you can write me, you can write to the Bhavesh sir as well. So, with these words, I stop here. Thank you, one and all, for the patience listening, and uh, it's it's uh, it's a great time to interact with you all. Thank you. Namaskar.